always with Mecca. Ah, there we go. Oh, the Beatles going this morning. What do we have in the Beatles mug? Do we want
chocolate milk? In.
I don't know which one is worse. First thing in the morning, to be honest. Oh God. Okay. So let's get to some news. Do our morning thing. Alan is with us as always. Good morning, Alan. So let's start with our boys, right? That's probably like the best way to go. Nunez, as expectedly, apologizes. A lot of support from. I sense like you listen to what Elliot said and stuff like that. There's like some support there, and then there's support with a side of you better freaking learn from this from more experienced players like Van Dijk and stuff like that. But I mean, the kid does the right thing. Obviously, didn't do the right thing on the field, lost his mind a little bit, learning experience. But I mean, it looks like he's got the right idea in terms of fixing it, right?
Yeah, but also his English seems to have improved since last Friday dramatically. But yeah, no. I mean, like that was always going to happen. He's always got to have to issue some sort of public apology somehow. And I mean, sure, he's not a teenager. He knows himself that he is wound up good and proper, as they say. And I can't imagine we're going to see something like that again unless it's a severe provocation. You know, somebody like kicking lumps out of his ankle or something like that for an entire game. But other than that, it's probably good that it happened in a sense. I think because it takes the focus off the goals thing. He's now people are going to be looking to see if he's going to turn around and hit somebody rather than whether he's going to score goals. So that's almost like a diversion.
I think, and that's. I guess in a way it's a concern because I think there was like a tweet that Matush shared in our Discord channel, and it was like, what Anderson did to, the entire game to get under his skin. And I was like, well, this is like really nothing. Like he didn't do a whole lot, a couple of like, pushes here and there. I mean, I've done a lot worse in a lot lower level. So I would think a pro probably, unless there's some other talk and stuff like that going on that the camera didn't catch, or obviously the talk that's, some trash talking or something like that. But like you're saying, he's 22. I'm sure he was getting a lot of this in Portugal where he was the focus. So, you're going to be getting a lot more of it from like defenders. So I think it's just a matter of getting used to it. The good news for us is also in the news yesterday that Klopp said Bobby should be ready to go. I always say and get mocked for saying great opportunity for Ox, but I really think this is a great opportunity for Bobby. Not for, Klopp. I think Klopp already values Bobby, but I think he's, a lot of, once we signed Nunez, everybody kind of like was not even including Bobby in the lineup anymore. I still feel in terms of like the interplay, he's the key guy there. And when we have to press, which we talked about, I think yesterday, that's why we think, Keita will be back against United and stuff. I think, Bobby's presence will be huge there.
Yeah. What it might do is it might open Salah up a bit more. Salah, I think, is becoming a lot predictable for other teams to play against now. It's essentially just drop back and then let him go inside, but don't let him take the shot. But when Bobby's on the field, he just seems to find them in different positions or find them earlier than the other players find them, so it becomes more dangerous. So in that sense, it might be like excellent to have him on the field if he's good to go. Not for Bobby, but for the rest of the team. I was like he's multiplying everybody else's efforts just by being on the field. Sort of in a way, I think that Mane did for us. Like Mane kind of brought a lot of players into the game with his movement in a way that I don't think Salah does, and in a way that I think they're hoping Nunez does with his height, almost like being a traditional target man. So it'll be interesting to see that. I wouldn't be expecting goals from him, though. I was looking at his stats the other day. His goal involvement has gone down over the years. So I wouldn't be expecting that as a successful outcome. A successful outcome, I think, would be, his effect on the attacks themselves. Maybe he starts bringing Luis Diaz more into the game in better positions for Diaz to score goals. So it would be more of almost like the rising the tide of the team almost to another level.
And to me, the biggest thing he brings is the press, and the timing of the press, being the trigger guy on that press, and especially against a team like United. That's why I think players like, and we saw this in last year's game, players like Bobby and Keita are like key to be able to kind of get that press going, win the ball, and then just eventually those are going to go in. And we talked about how fragile that team is and what can happen once they concede one. Well, let's talk about how fragile that team is. Obviously, everybody is being rumored. Cunha is the last one I saw this morning, but more importantly, probably for like the American crowd that's interested, is the Pulisic talk for United, loaning him from Chelsea, fighting Newcastle, looks like also on the headlines to get someone from Chelsea, including Pulisic. What do you make of that whole ordeal? Like, what do you make of Pulisic as a player? Obviously, he's seen, to the casual fan, I think, in the US, who does not follow soccer, but kind of sees headlines on ESPN and stuff like that. They might consider ESPN to be, Pulisic to be like one of the top players in the world or something like that.
Yeah, that's probably a reasonable impression. And he has some commercial out right now, doesn't he? Where
the pressure, yeah.
I mean, it'd be quite ironic. Be quite ironic for that commercial to come out, and then you get sold to Manchester United of all teams.
You thought US national team was pressure. Take this.
But yeah, I don't know. I mean, like I think he was a good focal point for American soccer fans, even before he went to England, because America's kind of always looking for that breakout player that's going to that's going to elevate the team in a way that, say, Landon Donovan, when he was on the field, you always kind of knew you were going to get something for the US national team. Or when Clint Dempsey was on the field in his prime, you knew you were going to get a goal somewhere, so you could market that player to the casual American soccer fan. But for him, it's sort of a downgrade to go to Manchester United from Chelsea. It's because it's the Manchester United of now. It's the dumpster for Manchester United. It almost be, if it was me, I'd be hanging onto the gates at the Chelsea training ground, like no, don't sell me there, don't send me there, because who would want to go there? Like, who would want that blemish on their career record? But he's a good player and all that. But Chelsea have, as we talked about last week, making so many signings, and Sterling came in basically, when you think about it, to do the job Pulisic does for them already, almost.
Yes.
Complete with ineffective shooting, and but yeah, it's you probably see a lot of those moves out from Chelsea in general. But for Pulisic, in terms of the US team, it probably is a bit of a disappointment.
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing. When he was rumored with us, because, the American owners and all that kind of stuff, which is ironic that the American owners are booting him out of Chelsea if, he's going somewhere else. But my thing always with him was, I feel he's overrated. I think he's the best of, and to be honest, even if you look at it right now, and that's probably what's unfair on the U.S. national team, there's a lot of good young talent on that team. And I think it's kind of almost like slightly gets overshadowed by Pulisic, and everybody wants, or expects something big to come out of him, like he's going to be like, he was going to be Chelsea star or Liverpool star and stuff. And I honestly, there was even talk this summer about him coming over. And I think aside from the American connection and maybe the club connection, which never really, the club is not the kind of guy that, goes to another club and brings all his old boys back over there or anything like that. He might have brought some players that he's familiar with, that he's watched, but rarely he brings people along with him. My biggest thing with him now, after having seen him in Chelsea, is we complain about all the squad players that we have who you can't rely on in terms of being available, like, Ox and Keita and players like that. And he would just add to I don't even know if we have a table open in the trainer's room right now. So, there's going to be a line over there. It's just not needed because He is rarely available. I don't think he is physically. I thought he was his best in Germany, and I think that league suits him a lot more than the Premier League. It would be a better move for him, I think, to do something like that. I mean, he's a good player. He can really create. He's got the agility. He's got the work rate, but he's just not reliable to give you that game after game after game. But if you think about Pulisic, I mean, I just told you two rumors, one from Newcastle, one from United. You would think the Newcastle one, he would be all over. I know they don't have the name, but he is more worried about playing and succeeding and being part of something going up as opposed to something crashing down. Seems like a lot more logical move.
I think that's correct. I think if he goes to Newcastle, if that ends up being the thing, then he's the big fish in the small pond almost, or a slightly bigger fish in the slightly smaller pond. If he goes to United, though, he's going to get buried in all of the drama and all of the theatre and all of the, is Rashford going to blossom? Is Ronaldo still going to be there? Is Eriksen going to be the same player he always was? Is Arnautovic going to show up with Zimmer frame? Is Vardy going to be there with his girlfriend and their 12 million court cases? He's not going to be there to play. He's going to be there to be part of the show.
Yeah.
Whereas with Newcastle, he'll be. I mean, he'll have a solid coach. I don't think that all the money Newcastle have received in investment is going to show any fruit for another couple of seasons. So he would be in at the ground floor. He could become the senior player at that club in 2 or 3 seasons when they start to get it together in terms of their success. Although you could also just go back to Germany and do a Havertz and just go back and play in the league that he knows really, really well and is really, really successful in. But it'd be smart, and if that move is really on, you should go to Newcastle, because you couldn't pay me to go to Manchester United today.
It's just
Sorry, you can't pay me to go to Manchester United. To be fair, I have a mortgage.
So those of you interested, Mecca can be bought out.
Or I could be bought for
the right price.
For chocolate milk flavored gin.
I mean, that's the thing. I think if he goes there, just like you're saying, it's a show. He would just be like an extra episode, or maybe he could be the regular character that you see. If it's like a sitcom of United, he could be the regular character you see in the training room, like getting treatments. And whenever we go there, he's always getting his ankle worked on.
He'd be the Kramer of Manchester United. He would pop in now and again for great hilarity.
Here is actually a smart move. There are teams that make smart moves. They basically replace. He doesn't have Cucurella's hair, but he is a very good back. They get Estupinian from Villarreal. I thought that was I think he's a really good player. Sometimes a bit too offensive minded than defense, but that's what they were kind of getting from Cucurella as a back too. I don't know. I mean, if they'll use him the same way, but definitely a good move for them to bring him over and actually make some cash in, doing that ordeal with Cucurella out, Estupinian in.
I mean, yeah, that's probably it's an interesting one in the sense that they found somebody, and let's be honest here, they didn't buy him for his talent. They bought him for his name alone. He's worth 30 points in Scrabble at least with that name. But yeah, I mean, from Brighton's perspective, probably good to replace Cucurella, but doesn't solve any of the problems that they've had for the past few years under Potter, which is goal scoring. So he better be bringing his shooting boots with him as well. I don't know much about him, to be honest, but I have watched Villarreal, and they've been a good side for the past few years in that kind of bracket of sort of mid-table-y kind of pushing upwards kind of sides. So they're probably. I mean, they seem to do their homework on their players, Brighton. So he's probably gonna be there a season or two before City snatch him up, probably. Or Newcastle. That he's probably using Brighton as a springboard, because Brighton is not your destination really, unless you're 75 years old and you want the sea air.
Jamie says, "Is Estupinian, is that Dublin for a terrible opinion? This must be an Irish joke, because I'm out of it."
Well, I don't speak fluent Irish, so I'm completely lost.
See, that's where you're falling. And you call yourself Irish. You know what the hell? Okay, here we go.
Yeah, I don't I haven't had enough gin yet, but yeah, I don't know much about the player, but they replaced the player that they could probably replace from their academy, really, in terms of position, and didn't address the problem that they've had, because at the end of the season, we're probably all going to be talking about the same thing about Brighton. Fantastic defense, good style of soccer, and no goals. You know, so maybe they should start putting that money where it's really needed.
Yeah, I think, and they're moving Mape, I think, too, who, I don't know, not great in the build-up play, but it was a guy who could occasionally finish for them. Has burned me on fantasy many times thinking he would finish and he didn't do. That's a different story. Going back to some other rumors this morning, the United's Rabiot thing is coming out. Apparently, Rabiot, even for United, is asking for ridiculous wages. So God knows how much he wants. I think it's one of those deals where I think we talked about this yesterday or maybe like end of last week, where it's becoming harder and harder for him to bring in players because there's no Champions League. And really, if you think about it, before the season started, I think this has been kind of like United's bad strategy. If they seal these deals earlier, I mean, first of all, maybe they could possibly make a better start to the season. But more importantly, I think you could sell those players and say, hey, no Champions League this year, but, you know, we're going to be back there next year. You know, it's only one season, blah, blah, blah. I mean, the way the season has started almost signals that there's not going to be Champions League next year either. Yeah. Which makes it even harder to bring people in now. So, because they're going to have 2 years out of the Champions League.
You can imagine all these players are screening their calls just to make sure Manchester United aren't calling them to see if they'll sign up. Because, yeah, I mean,
I'm not here.
I'm not here. Leave them on read. Leave them on read. But yeah, I mean, I was suspicious about the low price because £15 million, I think, was the value of what Man United would pay for him, which would, whenever there's like a low kind of fee like that, you always expect wages are going to be huge, because they can afford to go in and say, well, you can pay me in wages now, you're not going to pay a transfer fee. It doesn't surprise me. I don't know what's going on with Rabiot at all. Juventus is another dumpster fire in general, but so is Italian soccer. It's just a huge dumpster.
I think that's a Ronaldo. Is there a common theme over here? Because they're kind of like pummeled. So until they paid Ronaldo's wages and brought Ronaldo to the equation, they were like, the graph was going up. And ever since then, they've lost some of their, like, you know, the ball and players like that. And yeah, I mean, those wages are out of whack. They've kind of like become a place where they keep getting these high wage guys that are probably past their prime. But hey, Pogba is back in town.
Well, I mean, it's going to get to a point now where they're going to have to stop spending their money on wages and start spending on referees again. That's probably what's going to come down to for Juventus.
Hey, I mean, clearly it was a lot more effective. So why the hell not?
Yeah, guaranteed win.
Well, I mean, here's what's going to happen now is, especially with the poor result, I'm actually amazed with our like first two draws that there's not a lot of rumors. No, like even newspapers and websites know that it's not going to be a valid rumor to throw out there, knowing Liverpool are not going to dip into the market like this. But United rumors are all over the place. Here's another one for you. Aubameyang, who really didn't do, even though if you look at the numbers, he scored a lot of goals, he definitely did not fit, I feel, their play. Hence, Arsenal moved on from him. What do you make of that ordeal?
Oh, Aubameyang.
Yeah.
I actually want us to sign Aubameyang when Rodgers was the manager. Not that I'm bashing Rodgers.
After or something. I lost freaking count. It's only Wednesday.
Oh, it's Wednesday. Oh man, I have to catch up. When Suarez left and when Sturridge got injured and there was rumors flying around about who would replace Sturridge and all that, I think Aubameyang's name was mentioned. And I would have liked to see him there. I thought he did a good job in French football. But then it's the French football thing that it doesn't often translate into English soccer because it's such a genuine farmers league, literally. Le Farmers, in fact. Le Farme if you want to be
nice,
which I'm not.
Nice.
Um,
That sounded almost French.
It is. You just put le or la or lay in front of a word and drag it out, and then you're good. But yeah, I mean, he just seems like an unlovable player in general for some reason. I don't know why. Just probably look at his face or something. But yeah, I mean, he's coming from, was it Barcelona?
He's in Barcelona now.
Yeah.
Latest stop is there. Yes.
To Manchester United.
And that's the thing. Yeah, I mean, United or Chelsea. I mean, obviously they got
literally from frying pan into the dumpster fire. Like, I mean, one club that's in a mess to another club in a mess. It would make sense. It would make total sense. But I given how bad that squad is, I can't see him having any impact because who's going to supply him with anything? There's nobody there.
And that's why I thought the Pulisic thing didn't make a whole lot of sense either, because I mean his name is mentioned, Pulisic's name is mentioned with like Atletico and Juventus and stuff. Any of these teams that would pay a little bit for like a kind of an experienced guy, and they've known to do it in the past. His name is rumored with, because you're going from Chelsea, a lot better situation, whereas Aubameyang's ordeal is a slightly different. Not that the Barcelona is on the high, and Barcelona has gotten a player in Lewandowski he's pretty much going to replace him and be the focal point of that offense. So I can see that. So we saved the best for last, and Alan is all over it. Besiktas prepared to offer Dele Alli way out of Everton. I mean, I don't know which one is worse. I honestly, in some ways, Besiktas and having to go into Istanbul and eating some kebabs and some good food over there at least might be an improvement over Everton. What do you make of that ordeal, or will you just wait to read it in Dele Alli's book, How I Derailed My Career?
I mean, look, if ever there's been a player who's been on a complete downward slide almost from day one, that's the player. I mean, he started off with so much potential and so much talent. He is a talented player. But he's a complete nutcase. He doesn't do the work. He's like he's like that kid in school who was a genuinely good soccer player. Where I grew up in school in Dublin, there was a lot of them that got scouted when they were kids to go to Arsenal or Manchester United. But then they discovered cans of beer and smoking, and they just never fulfilled their potential. But they were always fantastic players. Even when they were playing pub league soccer, they were 10 levels above everybody else. They just didn't have the drive to get any better than what they were. And that just strikes me about what Dele Alli is. He went from Spurs to Everton and then not get his gain for Everton, who desperately need a player of that talent on the field. So that just says he has huge attitude issues probably in behind the scenes, and a face that you just want to punch every day. So maybe that's it. Maybe Frank Lampard just can't walk past him every day without throwing a left.
Not that you're bashing. Like not that you're bashing Dele Alli.
Not that I'm bashing Dele Alli.
So I mean,
Frank Lampard is apparently.
When I was watching the Villa game and he was coming on, I think what was like 80th or something. I was like, oh shit, that's right, he's still here. Because when he went there last year from Tottenham, it was going to be like, oh, Lampard is going to resurrect his career and stuff like that. And I think even Lampard was like, dude, your career is freaking over. There's nothing to resurrect. It's dead. Just call it. And you're right. I think it is a drive. Perhaps, when his stock was really rising, when he was in Tottenham doing really well, he almost got the feeling that I'm there. But the moment you say that at this level, you're done. And I think that's what happened. Like he just basically stopped doing what he's doing. How he will do in Besiktas is a mystery, because here's the thing: over there, he's gonna have to motivate himself even more probably, and he could be. I mean, last year, for example, Besiktas, Turkish league, I should say, is in the shitter overall financial situations and things like that. So they're having to kind of fork out every year, like trying to get people on loan and stuff like that. The only way to be able to afford, almost become like a championship side team or something like that, where picking up the scraps like behind the restaurants, waiting for the end of the season so they can be like, hey, you guys are not going to eat that, we'll loan them, kind of a deal, and like taking them to Turkey. And they had like Pjanic, for example, last year. So I almost see like, is that the same experiment? The problem with Turkish fans is they're going to be, all over you when you first come in. They're going to be greeting you at the airport, singing, carrying you on the shoulders and stuff. But if he does not run and do a couple of like stupid things on the field, from being on shoulders, they'll start jumping up and down on you. The Turkish fans, I'm finding out more and more that they are very, very fickle. No
Well,
player
he'd
from
be used to
EPL
that.
has.
He'd be used to that coming from Everton. There, to be fair.
I guess, yeah, he'll fit right in. No player from the Premier League has ever gone to Turkey and saved their careers. Hey, Calker went there and kind of like saved. Actually, not a laughing matter, but it is interesting to listen to. I listened to an interview with Stephen Calker, who Fenerbahce signed at one point, but then he did not even get to play a game because the new manager came in and said, nah. And they signed him. Of course, it's very Fenerbahce to sign the guy before they signed the new manager. But he was actually talking about like depression and stuff like that and how actually going to Turkey saved him mentally, because he actually originally went to Alanyaspor, which is a smaller town in the Mediterranean.
Which player is this?
Stephen Calker. Our ex striker coming off the bench, center back. And that's the thing. So that's a rare incident. I cannot
think
think of a player.
I think Dele and Atkinson went to Turkey after.
Yes,
England.
he did.
Yeah.
Actually, he did really well.
Yeah, he did really well.
See, that's the thing. There have been some players who have gone from the Premier League to the Turkish league and have performed well. But I mean, depends on what Alan considers saving their career. Is saving your career doing so well that you go back, or saving your career is kind of going there and actually making yourself and like a significant player, a focal point again, and succeeding that way? I guess depends on what you considered saving your career.
Although, to be fair, if you're going from Everton to a local Parks team or a six-a-side AstroTurf team, you're probably saving your career just as well. So it's a win-win for Dele Alli either way.
I think it's definitely away from the drama for him and maybe away from the expectations for him. So, I don't know.
And they won't
back
have
to European standard. I think that's the thing. It will be away from that pressure, away from the media focus in terms of like the negative media focus. Now he's going to be seen. Besiktas did not make the best start to the season. I mean, they're only 2 weeks in, but so, like I say, like Turkish teams are still kind of putting their roster together because they have to wait till the major business to be done before they can go get the scraps. And so he will be more like seen like the savior, the new guy, a guy who everybody knows. I'm finding out more and more about Turkish fans and social media, especially, is, they like a player they've seen before on TV, as opposed to a young player who might be 10 times better than Dele Alli. This is why, mind you, let's not do a Turkish football analysis, but it's going down the shitter because some of the club owners and like the boards would rather make the fans happy than do the smart move. So spend money on washed out Dele Alli instead of maybe grabbing somebody, instead of going to the championship for I honestly, I'm amazed. Will says next stop for Alli is Major League Soccer.
Yeah.
When Jesse Lingard even came over here and talked to a couple of teams, probably just to increase his price, or maybe he wanted to get a free trip, and he was like, yeah, I'll talk to you guys. I'm interested to get some free plane tickets or some shit. But I think Will is right. I'm actually amazed he did not do that. Why would you think he wouldn't do that? I'm pretty positive Besiktas might be in the Europa League, but I'm not 100% on that. Why do you think? Because that would make a lot more sense, wouldn't it? Major League Soccer?
I think, like, if he went to LA Galaxy, he'd be in his element. He'd be in Los Angeles. He could stroll up and down the strip, and nobody know who he is, to be fair. And then instead of Frank Lampard throwing him a left hook when he passes him, multiple strangers could throw him a left hook when they pass him, but they'd be Hollywood strangers. It would be right on brand from. But no, I could see him ending up in MLS, but I don't think he'd go there now. I don't know how old he is, but I don't think he's incredibly old. I don't think he's like in his 30s or anything.
Oh, I'll ask Uncle Google for you.
Late 20s, maybe 27, 28.
26, really?
I wasn't far off.
Dude, I actually thought you were like kind of, it must be the gin. Yeah, I really thought he was older. So, I mean, he hit
he's at his peak. He's at the peak of his career.
Yeah, not even there yet, if you think about it.
Yeah, that's madness. That just shows you how far down he's gone.
James
Yeah.
probably thinks he's too good for
Yeah, he
it.
probably does. Yeah, he probably thinks he's too good for Manchester United.
See, that's, I think, bad for Major League Soccer when, he's like, oh, I'm too good for that. I'll go play for Besiktas instead. I mean, that's not really a huge step up going to the Turkish league right now. I hate to say it because Turkish
But
league
we say that we can say that here because we have access. We can watch MLS.
I guess, yeah.
But over in Europe, there's no real coverage of it. I don't think.
I guess you're still in the
so
continent.
He probably doesn't know.
Like you're still in the continents, like within an arm's reach. There's no ocean to get back to the Premier League or somewhere like that. Because I'm pretty sure he's being loaned out. So like it would be one of those that he would be the guy that kind of show up all the time, every off season, do a couple of practices and just figure out, probably not even unpack over the summer and then just go back to another team.
I think though, if you're a player like that and you go on a loan to MLS and not a full transfer, you're probably going to get the game time and the experience as much as anything else of saying you've lived in America and stuff. But you probably want to go there because you're going to get the minutes. If you're coming from the Premier League, you're going to be the star of whatever team you go to, or one of the stars. So you're probably going to start, and then you stay there for a year, and then you go back, and you're refreshed. You've got a new perspective on everything. You can't see that with Dele Alli because he has zero ambition. Wherever he goes, he has zero ambition. You could see him getting outshone by a schoolboys team. He just doesn't seem to want to. He reminds me of Matt Letizia. He doesn't seem to want to do more than he has to every Saturday on the field. Literally nothing more. And if he did more, he'd be great, but he doesn't want to, so he's mediocre.
While like I say, the soccer and the economics has gone down, like the play in the Turkish league, the number 10 guy who used to just be able to kind of like wander around and like just give me the ball and I'll create something and then I'll just go back to like kind of like jogging around. That does not really work anymore. I mean, the soccer is a lot more faster paced than that, a lot more demanding than that. So that's where I worry about how he will do over there. Having said that, though, being a player that's not in really good shape in the Premier League sometimes can mean, as physical as it is, for like running wise, he might be good enough to play an attacking midfielder in the Turkish league, even though he's probably not in a great shape to play full stop, like 90 minutes in the Premier League kind of deal. But yeah, that's kind of like an interesting ordeal. And I can definitely see it happening because he doesn't look like he's in the plans at Everton. And I don't know what his wages are, but I'm sure it's not worth paying for like 10 minutes a game where he's going to like kind of like come off the bench. So
he probably gets paid in Instagram likes.
Yeah. And I'm sure like his Instagram is full of come to Besiktas and stuff like that now.
But imagine if he went there and he was a flop and then he had to go back to Everton as a flop. That'd be devastating.
And honestly, it's very doable, dude. Like it would be definitely interesting. I don't watch a lot of Besiktas games. I only watch really Fenerbahce from Turkey. There's not enough time to watch both leagues at the same time, but I would watch a couple of games just to see what he is up to. Because I think one thing that some players do, especially a guy his age, like I can understand when a 33, 34-year-old does that, go to Turkey, go to Greece and be like, you know what? I'm going to kind of like do the end of the career over here in a nicer climate, a bit easier, less pressure. Everybody loves me, kind of an ordeal. But I mean, that's shocking. I did not realize he was that young, to be honest with you. Like he's only 26. So if you're trying to resurrect your career, I don't know if he's going there thinking it's going to be easy. It's not. It is a very, very physical league. I mean, they are going to make you not want the ball. That's how most defenders play. And you play a lot against, when you're Besiktas, Fenerbahce, Galatasaray, you play against a lot of low blocks. And, you're not going to have like a lot of times and counters and crap like that.
Well, if he wants to resurrect his career, he'll have a better chance of nailing himself to a cross, really, to be fair.
Not that you're bashing Dele.
Not that I'm bashing Brendan Rodgers.
Well, speaking of resurrecting, it's time for me to resurrect a mug of coffee, and you can get your gin flavored
chocolate milk flavored gin.
Let's go with chocolate milk. Keep it PG that way. Well, everybody, thanks for chiming in, joining us this morning. Same time, grab your cup of coffee. We'll be back here tomorrow morning. Take care, everyone.